So here we've got two brand new Casio Edifice watches. And these pair, when I saw them online, well, I had to have them. Yeah, they looked particularly interesting because of the dials on these. Now, they're each versions of the popular EFR S108D line, in this case the DE version. Now I'm not sure exactly what the E stands for with these, but basically from what I can gather, they're kind of like redialed versions. Now that original watch, it was like a Casio Royal Oak alternative, essentially. A sports watch with an octagonal bezel, really thin case. And the first version had a mediocre black grained dial. It was almost like a wood effect. It was okay. They then released a much better looking metallic version. And then this new one is different again, and perhaps the best yet. But we'll see in the flesh. These things always look pretty swanky online, don't they? Now, I purchased both of these with my own money on Amazon UK, although it looks like from the looks of the packaging, it was from some sort of marketplace seller. Yeah, it says here JWC, but I'll link it in the video description either way. And I'm not sure exactly how much these are going to end up costing because they're not actually available on the regular Casio UK site yet. Nice look at that. But yeah, you can see why these were pretty striking to me. There's the quick look at the first one at least. But yeah, I think these cost me about 100 quid each. But that might not be the final retail price on these. That was a satisfying one. So here we've got a couple of different versions of the same watch. On the left we've got this green one, which is codenamed from the look of the tag 3AV. And then the one on the right is a kind of silvery white looking thing, which is 8AV. But yeah, very impressive texturing on these, no doubt. Now, I personally definitely prefer the one on the left, but on first impressions at the very least. This one on the right here, I mean, legibility on this is atrocious, as you can see here. I mean, you can barely read the time on this one. There is also another colour I saw, which, well, in the end, I regret not picking up. That one was more like a light blue white or something. Really hard to tell the difference between these two online, but some people were calling this the Casio Snowflake. I'm assuming because of that texture. Looks a bit like some of the textures on certain Grand Seiko models. Obviously not up to the same standard. And it's a pretty cool texture there. Just having a closer look at it, doesn't really kind of look like anything as such, I wouldn't say. Maybe most like the surface of concrete or something, but the texture itself is pretty impressive, as you can see here, especially for a watch at this sort of price. So for now, we'll take a closer look at this one on the left. This green is one of the more readable colors, and straight out of the gate, I mean, it could just be the color, but it looks maybe a tad more legible, that crystal, compared to previous iterations of this watch. Even the metallic version did have a pretty hazy sapphire crystal. That's one of the benefits of this watch. You do get a really scratch-resistant sapphire crystal, and I don't think this particular one impedes the visibility of the dial too much either, which is good. Almost like a crusty surface in a way. I think you're either going to love it or hate it, but it definitely looks higher end. You wouldn't expect a watch of this cost to have quite so much experimentation going on there. As for the rest of this watch, if you're unfamiliar, got some pretty obvious strengths, and you can see that's one of them. This thing is wafer thin, and that's even with a bezeled design. This one's only 7.9 millimeters, so definitely one of the skinniest affordable watches you can buy, and as such it does wear pretty flush to the wrist, as you'll see in a moment. But yeah, full stainless steel construction on this one, which is good. You've got that nice sapphire crystal, unlike many previous Casio watches, and also 100 meters of water resistance, which is pretty solid as well. Doesn't have a screw back, but it does have a snapback, clearly with a good enough seal. And the crown on this one is just push-pull, so easy operation, but perhaps not best suited for scuba diving. Does come by default on this stainless steel bracelet, which is fairly good. These look like solid links. From what I remember, yeah, they're not actually solid links. They've just done a good job of concealing the folds on the inside, which does mean that you probably won't pull any hairs with this one, unlike some of the really cheap Casio bracelets. Clasp here is okay. It does have 3 micro adjustments, and it's easy to use, so fit shouldn't really be a problem. And the bracelet itself, you can actually detach it. I'll just quickly get you the measurements on that. And it's about 16 millimeters there, the actual bandwidth, if you did want to attempt to switch it out. I think on the front it's actually skinnier. Yeah, it's staggered. This width here is more like 12 millimeters on that central link. So yeah, maybe you'll want actually more like a 12 millimeter central part of your strap if you did want to switch it. But the bracelet overall pretty good. Overall, the looks are pretty good too. Quite stereotypical sports watch styling with this one. My hands on these have never been my favourite, and I do think the logo might frustrate one or two of you. Not the most attractive logo on a watch, but it certainly could be worse. Markers and hands are fairly good, and as with most Casios, that second-hand alignment is bob on. Quartz movement, obviously, in this watch. Close up with this, and then I'll get the exact sizes for the rest of the watch. You can see what I mean. It almost looks like a crusty kind of surface. Not exactly ugly though. And you can see what I mean about the crystal on this one. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to impede the dial like previous versions, which is always a plus. Now, it's hard to know exactly where to measure on this one because it's got those unusual side bulges. The most accurate measurement's probably about here. It's about 38.5 millimeters. If you were to include the side bulges and the crown guards, it does balloon up to about 40. But overall, still a fairly small watch. And similar story with the lug to lug. Technically, lug to lug here is about 45, but because of those kind of solid fixed end links there, you have to take those into account too. This will look substantially larger, yeah, approaching 50 mil, but still a relatively small watch all in all. And it does wear a little bit larger than a 38.5 I've found, I think just because it's got a bit of a pancake-like profile. I'd say it wears closer to about a 39.5 millimeter watch instead. Here it is on my 6.25 inch wrist. So I've got a really small arm. Does look maybe a little bit big on me, this one. It's close. My main thing for my arm is the lug to lug, which you'll see in a second. But boy, is this thing wafer thin. Absolutely ridiculous. And it is a bit of a corker, this one. I will try this other one on in a second, but I can't find myself liking it so much. This, after all, is my Ben's Watch Club green dialing away here. Come on, Casio, you can hook me up with that collab piece. But yeah, I think this does look pretty cool. Especially if you weren't impressed by any of the previous dials, this may be the one for you. Almost has like a slight sheen to it. Maybe don't quite like the sheen in a way, though. I think maybe it would look a bit more premium if it was a little more matte, potentially. Still, very hard to complain. I'll also do a lume test in a moment, but not expecting that to be too good on a watch like this. There's a look at the Snowflake version, or the kind of silvery white one. And you know, maybe it does look a tiny bit better when it's on, but you can see what I mean about the legibility. Even the hands there kind of blend in. So this one may well be limited to being purely a fashion watch. I mean, style-wise, it's fairly good. But yeah, I wouldn't be relying on this one if you needed to quickly glance at the time during a natural disaster or something. So overall, not bad. I'll quickly do a lume test of both of these just to see if there is any difference between them, but I doubt it. Always been a bit of a weakness of Casios. I mean, by Casio standards, that's actually not dreadful. Still not good, but it might actually be better than the more expensive Casio Automatic that they released. But as you can see, within like 30 seconds to a minute, a good chunk of that brightness is completely gone. And on that note, we'll do a quick crystal test. I can't imagine Casio lying, but these two do seem more legible than previous versions, so it doesn't hurt to check. So here's our control. Nice Christopher Ward here. And as you can see, get a fairly strong reading there, which does mean this should be sapphire. And we're expecting something similar here, given that they have sapphire written in block capitals. And yep, exactly the same reading. So maybe Casio have made some incremental improvements. Who knows, maybe it's just the color of these particular watches. And I also noticed the screws here, as you can see, are all perfectly aligned on both of these, which you ironically don't find on the vast majority of luxury watches. Loads of those are twisted in all sorts of directions, so that's pleasing to see. They seem to be purely for stylistic reasons here, though. Can't see them contributing to water resistance in any way. But overall, pretty impressed, especially with this green one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll also link both of these below if I can find them. They seem to like to group up these releases, don't they?